answer any questions that you guys may have about disciplines, about the classes, and all that craziness. Let me get a couple things out of the way before we get into it. So, for one, you may see some weird, crazy stuff pop up on our screen. We are on a development shard, or development server, so you might see server script error detected in giant yellow letters across the screen. Just don't mind any of the weird stuff that we do there. David's also going to be cheating and using dev commands to do stuff throughout it. So let me give you a basic walkthrough of what David's going to do, unless you want to explain it, but I can explain the basic walkthrough of what David's going to do to show you the system. He's on a level 9 right now, which, as you know, you don't have an advanced class when you're level 9. He's going to show you a little bit about what the system looks like prior to having an advanced class. Then he's going to bump it up to like level 30, show you how the system starts to evolve as you're leveling up. And then he's going to take you way deep into the system, I don't know, 55 or 60, and show you what the system looks like at the end of the game. As part of that, let me get something out of the way. So you guys may notice that we're on a Sith Inquisitor. Spoilers, David's going to go down the path of being a sorcerer. We are going to show you the new abilities, what the utilities are, and the disciplines. We're going to walk you through quite a bit of what Sorc is going to get in the expansion. We will do this at some point for every class. In some cases, we'll do it we may do it in blogs, we may do it in live streams. You will get that information in the coming weeks and months about what's coming for the rest of the classes. Also, last note, we will be answering questions throughout the stream. At least for the beginning part of it, I'm not going to take a lot of questions because I want to make sure David gets through the whole system before we start answering stuff. You don't take any questions anyway that are relevant. Please make sure to keep your questions relevant to disciplines specifically for the stream, which I don't think will be hard. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of questions about disciplines. All right, David, take it off.
Yeah, stop talking, please.
They can't really see the top of my head, so I don't know.
Do you want to slide back a little bit?
Yeah.
There you go.
Why do we care about the top of your head?
Weird. I see. Wait, I'm going to fix the camera. Hang on. Wait a minute. Let me slide that up.
Alright, as they're jerking each other off, swtorPaladin, if you don't like my commentary, just close the video. I don't really care. I'm going to be talking over them, because that's just the way it goes. So if you don't like it, close the video. If you post anything unconstructive, I permaban your ass. So keep that in mind. You've been warned.
First, you'll notice, you can't really see it, but it says combat proficiencies here. You might be like, well, why doesn't that say disciplines? Because we need to encompass everything that this new window does, which is advanced class selection. It's your discipline selection. And it's also where you will choose your utilities.
Oh, wow.
So we just went with combat proficiencies.
They're farther than I thought they were.
We've got... Let me just back out of this real quick. I guess I'll show you. Right now, I'm level 9, so I can't pick an advanced class yet. But I'm going to level up to 30 real quick, and then we will get started on that. So level 30, at level 10 you can choose here. You might notice that Assassin has hatred over here. It's because we have renamed one of the two shared specs for each class.
Or reworked it or something.
What this allows us to do in the future is really differentiate these two more.
Interesting.
We've already started some of that.
They're getting rid of shared trees.
So if I go to hatred,
it's about time.
One of the abilities you get is Leeching Strike. But Death Field and Creeping Terror, they're still shared. Demolish is another new ability you'll get.
So there's the core abilities that you get when you pick the spec.
If we come look at Madness, you'll see you get Force Leech instead of Leeching Strike. The difference is this is a 1.5 second cast time, 30 meter range versus Leeching Strike is melee.
Interesting.
And it has a 4 meter range. Well, obviously it's got 4 meter range because it's melee.
Right, and we're doing
don't talk, Musco.
And we're doing that across the board for all advanced classes, where any of them which all of them will have had a shared name. The shared tree across the advanced classes have been renamed.
Right, and in some cases it'll be different, like Mercenary versus Commando.
I feel like explaining this to like 2-year-olds.
Names, but the Mercenary got one changed.
I'm greatly enjoying a chat right now where they're talking about you've literally removed Madness Assassin from the game. That is, I guess, actually correct.
That's true.
It's funny, wasn't I? Like,
Hatred is very
had this
similar.
whole spiel about assassins yesterday
the
on
share trees. They used
video.
to share skills, and they did mostly, but the ones that didn't share we would sometimes name them the same, even though they were two different skills. Now we've gone through and we've actually renamed them. So
they've
hatred
properly
skills, if they're not
sorted them
the
out.
exact
That's
same
cool.
skill, they'll have their own name.
And
Well,
one
that's
thing that I
good.
do want to point out as part of this, just so no one gets super paranoid, is that if you play a Hatred Assassin in 3.0, you are playing very similar to exactly what you're playing now as Madness. Don't think that because the name is different, that suddenly it's an entirely different class. It will be extremely similar to what you're already playing right now, barring the new abilities and the other changes that are coming as part of the system.
It's going to be exactly the same, except it's going to be nothing similar.
A sorcerer today. And once you choose your advanced class,
Okay.
you're done, just like you currently are. You can't go back and change that. And so now I'm a sorcerer. And
So those
I
are
get
the
to
things
pick.
you automatically get
We'll
once
go
you
with, We'll go
commit.
with lightning today.
So do you want to walk them through, when you're actually looking at the disciplines, do you want to show them
Okay,
what,
those have level,
what
but they
the new
still have
abilities are
level
that
cap.
they can see as part of the,
Sure.
because I know that's what people are
Could
going to
you
be
have gone
looking
like a
for quite
little
bit
bit
as well.
slower?
Okay, so the
Can't
new
pause it.
abilities for lightning are lightning flash and lightning bolt.
Oh.
And whether you got like
Lightning bolt,
one
lightning
new
bolt.
ability or two new abilities, it depends.
Everyone
on
in
what you
chat
had
saying
your
lightning
tree.
bolt.
And they only had two in their tree. They had chain lightning and thundering blast, which you'll now get at level 10 and level 26. A level 41 lightning flash, you get it, and it's an instant attack, 30-meter range. It makes your next crushing darkness cast 0.5 seconds faster. And then lightning bolt, it effectively replaces your lightning strike. It just deals more damage,
So-
and it's cheaper.
So you will see a little bit of that throughout the expansion as well, is where we have abilities that are being directly replaced by better versions of the same skill, basically, specific to that specialization. So, like, it's a perfect example, right? Like, Lightning Sorcs will be using Lightning Bolt instead of Lightning Strike, which is cheaper and better than Lightning Strike. And it also makes each one of those specs more iconic in those scenarios where that's happened.
Yeah. Before I choose lightning, let's just go through the other two corruption and madness abilities. So I already said that madness gets force leech. That is a lifesteal ability. It's 30-meter range, 1.5 second cast, and it steals 50% of your enemy's health and heals you for that.
Okay.
There's also a skill in madness that bumps that 50% heal up to 100%, so it will heal you for all of the damage that it does. Demolish shares a cooldown with Crushing Darkness. Effectively, it replaces Crushing Darkness. It's just like Crushing Darkness, but better. And then Corruption. Corruption already had 3 skills. Dark Infusion. Well, so we pulled Dark Infusion into Corruption. That's your big cast heal. And then, of course, you already had Innervate and Revivification. And you also get Roaming Mend, which is an instant heal. And it'll heal up to 4 targets whenever you put it on one of your allies, and as soon as they take damage, it heals them. And then it'll jump up to 20 meters away, another one of your
chain
allies.
heal.
And when
Cool.
they take damage, it heals them.
So one of the things that I want to point out as well, because I know that this is something that we had talked a
Let's
lot
go.
about when
Shut
you guys
up.
were working on the discipline systems, is one of the things you guys will see as David's explaining, like the new abilities that
Just let
the
him
classes are
explain the
getting, is
damn
that
thing.
we looked a lot. These guys looked a lot at player feedback on what
You didn't do
classes
anything.
felt like they were
so
missing
be
to
quiet.
try to fill those types of gaps in the new class design. So, like lightning, right? It's a lot of having to stand still and cast. And so you may note that one of your new abilities is an instant cast spell that is assuming is rotational or will become rotational.
Yeah.
Same thing with your healing. A healing source had to stand still and cast quite a bit. Now you have another instant cast heal. I mean, you'll see a lot of those things reflected throughout the discipline system as well, and changes that came as part of the class.
So before I commit to this, I just wanted to point out we do have inspect, and I know I showed it early on. Before you choose things, you can actually inspect and read every skill if you want to see what it does before you make your choice. It's not that big of a deal on the discipline screen because at this point I can just abandon my discipline, which I'll do. And I don't want to be lightning anymore. I've already committed to it, but I can abandon it and I can become madness. Or,
and you guys may notice when he clicks abandon, watch click abandon, because he's a subscriber, it's free. So just like it was with skill trees, it's the same thing. You can respect.
Obvious. Just let
also,
him talk.
This abandon button won't be here if you don't have the field respec legacy perk, which I know a lot of people have asked about on the forums. Like, what about my field respecialization legacy perk? Are you going to refund the money? No, because it actually works
I wish
to
you would
enable
go
this
down the
abandon
trees
button.
and explain what the hell those trees are.
Without that, you'll have to go to the guy on
He
the
moused
fleet
over
that
him
you go
for a
to
second.
without it, and then talking to him will let you abandon it.
Right.
But I've got it enabled, so I can just click it. And I'm going to cancel this time because I'm going to stick with lightning. So I'm level 30 right now, and you can see that the path is lit up.
Yeah, he mounces
all the way
over
to,
him
I get
so
this,
fast.
it says level granted 28. Next thing I get
So
is at
that's
level
just
32,
buffs?
so you can just kind of see
Yeah, those are
when
just
you're going to
buffs.
unlock the next thing. Here, this is a passive skill. The active abilities you get, like Chain Lightning and Thundering Blast, they have these big green outlines just to kind of draw your attention.
Oh, okay.
Lightning Flash is the next one I'll get at 41, and then I get Lightning Bolt, which replaces my Lightning Strike at level 57. These other weird things, you're like, what are these circles? These are your utility points. So you get a utility point at level 11, 19, 27, 35, 43, 51, and 60. And that lets you pick over here. So because I'm only level 30 right now, I can pick 3. And each tier
so those
will
are
unlock based on
specs or
how many you've chosen total. And this is a good point for me to actually level up, which I'm going to do real quick.
So while you're doing that, I want to point out 2 notes. I'm seeing a lot of questions in chat. Don't worry, I'm going to ask David. I'm going to go through all the questions that you guys have. I want to let David get through and explain the entire system because some of your questions will be answered before you get there. So hang on, let him explain the entire system, and then I'll come back and revisit some of those. And then, do you want to run through a little bit of an explanation of what they're seeing on the left side and how that is similar but different to the skill trees that we had before? Because one of the things that I am seeing a little bit of questions about is how is this in relation to skill trees?
Okay, so what you have here in the discipline path on the left side, most of these are obviously either your 4 green actives, and then the rest of these, the ones with the thinner blue outlines, these are the passives. And mostly they are the damage passives that you had in your skill tree. So if you looked at the Lightning skill tree on live, you're going to see an icon that looks like this for Lightning Storm. This is Lightning Storm. We've just put it into this path, and you get it at level 12.
It's not
rather
Lightning
than
Storm, though, is it? It's
whatever level you could get it at.
it's a
Maybe
passive.
25 was when you could originally
Or
get
it's
it.
a buff.
But we've just kind of streamlined it, and we've spread it out to where you get all the lightning stuff, but you get it as you level.
So you get
That's a fair explanation. Because one of the things that you'll see is everything that you had that before. I shouldn't say everything, actually, because some of it has moved into utilities, but anything that made you better at being a lightning Sorc, for example, the things that did more damage, the thing that granted you your procs, all of that stuff you will get automatically as part of the discipline system as you're leveling it up. Because, simply put, when you were leveling as a lightning Sorc, you had to open up your skill tree bar and click the button every time you leveled to get, you were going to get them anyway. So basically that's just going to happen automatically. Now what we've done is we've moved the customization of your class into utilities, if you want to explain a little bit about what utilities are.
Okay, so over here are your utilities. They are various things. This one I'm hovering over right now, Force Diffusion. You might remember it from, it was close to the bottom of the corruption tree. It overload heals you and up to 7 affected allies for some amount based on your gear. These,
Wait, what?
you can pick.
I thought he was
And
landing
as
using
you
that
pick
heal
them,
stuff.
They will unlock. Masterful unlocks once you pick 3, and then Heroic unlocks when I pick 5. But I don't have to pick 2 from here. Okay, so there's a bug right now. Let me close this, and I'll get 7 again.
I should point that out as well. We're on a death shard, so don't be surprised if you see bugs.
Yeah.
You just
So if I
said that,
pick 5 up here, it unlocks Heroic as well.
Yeah.
I don't have to take 3 from here and 2 from here. I can take, in fact, if I want, I can take all 7 of these, and that'll be my 7 skills. But usually there's some pretty good stuff if you go further down.
Do you want to show them my favorite thing? I was I have to tell this story, so you guys can read this tooltip while I'm talking.
Shut up.
We were in a meeting, and we were running through as they were building the discipline system, and credit to these guys, I was involved. They got me involved to make sure that the community was involved in helping to develop all these classes. And I remember when they were talking about the tier 3 utilities, or in this case, what they're now heroic utilities, and they showed me, they were like, "Look, you can cast something while moving." I was like, "Did you say I can cast something while moving?" And it is. Oh my god, it is incredible.
What?
He'll show you what the first time that you start casting that spell, and then you press D and you just start strafing or turn or W if you happen to not use strafe on those keys, and just start strafing while casting it. It is.
I guess that's
very
new
exciting.
for TOR, but that's not.
So I'll commit these skills.
Well, I always had
So I'll spend one
moving
more.
well.
And so I should point out also, just before, this will always be right. Their force mobility. So a lot of the things that you're going to see as we're focusing on Sorcs, and you'll learn about them in other classes. Look, he's moving while casting it.
Oh my gosh, that is.
Some of these will translate to other classes, and some of them will not. So, for example, you can't expect necessarily that you're going to see the ability to cast while moving on every class. That's not the case. But you will see that translated into some other classes.
I like Empire.
I'm not going to tell you which ones yet, but you'll see them in the
They
future.
always start with
So
Empire.
there's definitely stuff like that you will see.
Right.
And also, Snacks123 just pointed out something that is also coming in the expansion, which we haven't mentioned. That's right. Your proc is now highlighted on your bar, so you know when your proc goes off without staring at your buff bar.
Oh, it's about freaking time.
So y'all are asking why I'm clicking, and that's because this isn't my normal mouse setup, and I was actually trying to use Shift and Control to use my abilities earlier, and it wasn't working.
Yeah.
So
David has a pretty hardcore setup. You use a gamepad, and David has a pretty ridiculous setup at his desk. He's just sitting in the stream room where we just have a keyboard and a mouse. I think this is a good first question.
Okay.
If Sorcs have the ability to cast while moving, can Guardians have the ability to fly?
Ooh.
Can we ask real questions? Can you guys answer real questions?
We might work on
please?
flying for Guardians for 4.0. But
I'm waiting for chat. The second they catch up, they're going to go 4.0 confirms. That's the first thing that's going to come out. All right, anyway, so feel free to run through anything else that you want to as part of disciplines. I'll start throwing questions at you. So one of the questions I saw early on that I think is pretty relevant is, are trainers still relevant? Do you still actually have to train ranks of abilities? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's not automatic as part of the discipline system.
Right. Yeah, so you're still going to train
4.0 confirmed.
You're still going to train all of your non-discipline abilities, basically. So that means all your base class abilities from Inquisitor still get trained. All your advanced class abilities from Sorcerer still get trained. So you still have to go back to the trainer. You still have to train those. Your discipline abilities don't have to get trained. They just level up automatically with you, and they scale to whatever your current level is.
That's cool.
Is casting
about
while moving
time.
also for mercs and other casting classes? I can say safely, and in fact David can say whatever he wants after I say these words, but there are definitely other classes that have moving while casting on certain abilities. Mm-hmm. If David wants to elaborate more, he can. But
Actually,
yeah, so the mercs and commandos also get it.
Troopers have
operatives
already
don't
been
get
able
it
to do that
because we
with
felt like they were
couple
already
of their-
pretty mobile.
yeah,
as
they were
most of
already
you know.
doing that.
So they don't get it, but mercs do.
Is mercs on the same ability it was before?
Yes.
Okay. Do you mind if I say what it is? Because this is actually I was playing Arsenal Merc at the time when I found this out, and this is where I saw it. And
so
they
he's
can
actually
now
been playing
cast,
these builds. That's amazing.
Overload. No, is a barrage.
It's blazing bolts.
Right. Well, it's actually the new skill, right?
Unload.
It's blazing bolts, which was a replacement for unload. What did I say? Overload? I don't know why I said overload. Yeah, it's a replacement for unload. But it's they can cast that while moving. Yeah. It's so awesome. God, it's so great. I'm excited for when you guys get to see mercs. I really like the changes. I actually really like the changes that are coming to everything. But
Okay, moving on,
Yep.
please.
I mean, we can take questions for the rest of the time. I don't think. Well, there's one more thing I want to show you. So up here, this is just a toggle. So I can toggle between, and it's broken right now. But this would say lightning normally. I can try to show it to you unbroken if I abandon and get out of here real quick. Okay, so if I go in
It's more than
it
what I
just
thought,
toggles
but it
between
still
my
has
utility
crap loads
skills
of defects.
and my lightning, the discipline selection screen from before. So it's really useful when you inspect. Let's say I want to do inspect corruption, right? But I don't care about my utility skills over here on the right side because I already know what the utility skills are because they're the same for the whole advanced class. And then I can just call out these highlighted abilities over here, and it gives a little blurb about what corruption is good for. So there's that. I think I've shown them pretty much everything at this point
So what
I can think of.
Show some other
one of the things that I'm seeing
characters
questions
there.
about. So just so people understand, the utilities that you're seeing, the skillful, masterful, and heroic masteries, those are Sorc utilities. So regardless of which spec you are, whether you're Madness, Lightning, or Corruption, those all three of those are the same utilities that you would be choosing from. Because I'm seeing people asking like, can you
So it's
heal
for
while
numbers.
moving? So do you want to highlight
Yeah,
over?
yeah.
So if you look
Sure.
over, if you look at Force Mobility, you'll be able to see that it actually affects one ability per tree. So Thundering Blast, Innervate, or Force Leech, one of those, depending on which spec you're in, will be able to
okay. That's
cast while
cool.
moving.
Yep.
So one of the questions that I saw was also on the forums, which is how does disciplines affect what you can queue for as part of like flashpoints and stuff in Group Finder?
You should still be able to queue just as you do for Group Finder. You can pick whatever it currently lets you pick, and then when you get into your flashpoint or operation, you should be able to just abandon your discipline and pick a new one.
Yeah, it's unchanged from how it is now. I mean, if you basically think of like the lightning discipline or the lightning skill tree, being able to respec that into corruption, it's all still the same, and it affects Group Finder in the same way as well. I am seeing a bunch of questions about people asking about specifically requesting that we show other classes and do that stuff. Again, we are going to show all of the other classes.
Just show them now.
in blogs and on live streams. Not today,
Why?
obviously.
Why?
Or I shouldn't
No,
say
not
obviously.
obviously.
Unfortunately, not today. But
Why?
we will show that in the future for sure. Do you want to do like a slow highlight of each one of the utilities so people can see what they are? Especially the heroics, because they're amazing, but this way people can get an understanding of what utilities look like.
Okay, sure. So, Haunted Dreams
Whirlwind
has
breaks
come
your
back, and
Okay.
if your Whirlwind breaks early from damage, the target is stunned for 2 seconds. In addition, Whirlwind activates instantly, so you, as a Sorc, you get instant Whirlwind again, should you choose it as a utility.
Okay, that's cool.
Corrupted Barrier, your Static Barrier, Force Barrier, and Enduring Bastion heal you for 2% of your total health every second for as long as they last. This healing
Oh, that's
scales
cool.
up to 8% with the charges for Enduring Bastion. Conspiring Force, targets affected by your affliction are slowed by 30% for its duration.
Oh, that's cool.
Force Mobility, already know that. Thundering Blast, Innervate, and Force Leech may be activated while moving. Force Haste reduces the cooldown of Force Speed by 5 seconds, Force Slow by 3 seconds, and Force Barrier
That's
by
cool.
30 seconds. Shapeless Spirit reduces all damage taken while stunned by 30%.
Whatever.
Surging Speed,
Keeps
Polarity
you
Shift
ganked, I
increases
guess.
your movement speed by 50% while active. In addition, Force Speed lasts 0.5 seconds longer, and when Force Barrier ends, the active cooldown of Force Speed is finished.
That's cool.
Lightning Barrier increases the amount absorbed by your Static Barrier.
You can
by
make a pretty
20%.
freaking tanky.
Electric Bindings overload binds
Sorcer.
its targets in electricity, immobilizing them for 5 seconds.
Consular.
Direct damage dealt after 2 seconds ends the effect
Sage.
prematurely. Backlash, Static Barriers you place on yourself erupt in a flash of light when they end, blinding up to 8 nearby enemies for 3 seconds. This effect breaks from direct damage.
That's kind of cool.
Suppression.
gonna
Activating
make
Cloud Mine
PvP
grants
crazy.
suppression, which increases damage reduction by 25% for 6 seconds.
Defensive cooldown swords. Defensive
Yeah,
cooldown.
tons of
Corrupted
tons
Flesh
of tanky
reduces the
Sorc
damage
stuff.
taken from all periodic effects by 15%, which, by the way, you might actually want that because you can't cleanse any dots now.
Oh, all dots
in
are
one of the forum
uncleansable.
posts, I'm gonna
Wow,
stop
that-
for a second. One of the
that's
forum
kind of
posts
a
I
big
mentioned
deal.
that there are a whole lot. I shouldn't say a whole lot. There's quite a bit of global combat changes which are coming that are a part of 3.0.
I thought they said there was no-
One of them being that set bonuses are being handled differently. One of them being exactly what he just said, which is dots can't be cleansed. There's quite a few things like
When
that.
are
And
they
we're going to be
gonna
talking
tell us
more about that
this?
stuff and how it impacts the game. And why some of those decisions are being made in a future stream as well. So don't be
Nice.
too alarmed by anything that we're saying because we're releasing tidbits at a time.
Why don't you just fucking say
I saw
everything?
Somebody asked, will anything be saved when I switch to another? No, when you abandon, it also resets.
Oh, that's
so if I
irritating.
abandon this, I'm reset. And now
Why
when
can't
I
you
come
just
back,
save specs?
I've got nothing selected over here. You can also, if you don't want to switch your discipline, there's a reset button here, which I'll commit, and then... So I don't like these skills, but I do like that I'm lightning. I just hit reset, and it resets these, and I can pick them over again. I think I was on immersion. So force speed grants immersion, removing all movement impairing effects, and granting immunity to them for the duration.
Okay.
Dark resilience reduces
You have
the
to
health
spec into that
spent by
now?
consumption by 25%, and increases the healing done by unnatural preservation.
You have to spec into that too?
By 30%.
Those are kind of core
With
abilities.
this one, I just want to point out things are still in development.
okay.
We might be changing consumption
Please.
to work differently.
That
So
should not be...
don't get too twisted up in this one. That if we did do that, if we change consumption, then we're probably going to change the skill too.
And I should point out too.
That's kind of
on
irritating
what
that
kind
that's
of what
such a
David has said.
masterful.
Because I saw a couple questions earlier on, which I don't know that you. I mean, I can ask it. I'm not sure if you can actually answer it. I think my answer will probably cover it. But when people saw that you could move while casting, one of the questions that came up is how are you going to balance melee versus ranged in PvP with that in mind? And David probably has an answer for us, but just one of the things that goes into that is we'll see how a lot of this is going to work when we go on to PTS and we start.
I don't
getting
want
into
it to
matches,
be
you know?
balanced.
We've
I
made
want
a
it to be
huge amount of
unbalanced.
changes to combat. It's one of the reasons that we weren't joking when we said, PvP is going to the entire landscape of PvP is going to change when this comes out, and so we're going to see how things work when they.
They
get
should
to
just
that
get rid of
point.
Marauders too.
I don't know if that's the only answer, or if you have something else, but that's the answer that as I know it right now.
Yeah, I also want to point out that cast while moving it's really limited, right? Because you've got this one skill that affects one of your abilities.
Yeah.
So it's not like we said.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Sorcerers can cast everything on the move now. That's not true. It's Thundering Blast, or Innervate if you're a healer, or Force Leech if you're Madness. That's it.
Everybody's saying
that's your
goodbye
one
melee.
skill. that you can cast while moving. So it's not
Let's be honest. Sentinels and
as
Marauders
game-breaking
were
as you
already
might
pretty
think.
bad.
But we will keep our eye on that for sure. If the melee
This is
ends
just
up being
making them
able to
worse.
just not compete, then we'll make adjustments so that
They
they
already
can.
can't compete, but okay.
Another thing, somebody asked, why have cleanse abilities now if you can't cleanse dots? You can actually cleanse pretty much all the crowd control in the game. So even some stuff that you couldn't cleanse before,
It's
like
about
stuns. Your cleanses are on a longer cooldown now. They're not 4.5 seconds anymore. But that's why. That's why you still have a cleanse.
I was hoping. I saw a bunch of questions earlier about people being like, "Is there anything going to be happen to address stunning in PvP?" And I was like, "Please, David, talk about the cleanse stuff later on." If not, I was gonna prompt you for it. But so that may help you guys understand a little bit more about why the no dot cleanse is happening, since you can also now cleanse CC, which means stuns will be much one.
Yeah,
if you
it's
have
about
good
time you
cleansers,
can start
stuns are much less
cleansing
prevalent.
stuns.
There's
That'll
also
be
other things
nice.
that is not. Let me be clear that is not everything that is going to touch that stuff about cleansing. There are ways to get rid of dots.
Are you gonna
right?
fix
I'm not
resolve?
imagining that. Are there?
Yeah, so you can
I
still...
don't know how far down this path we want to go, but don't
Sure,
think
sure.
like you put a dot on someone and it's on there forever. It's not quite that simple.
Yeah, so you can still cleanse dots.
You just said you
can purge
couldn't
them,
cleanse.
right? And so the two guys with Purge are Operatives.
You said you
and,
couldn't cleanse them anymore.
Shadows, or Assassins and Scoundrels.
So,
But
whatever.
their
Stun Wars is gone.
Force Shroud and Evasion or Dodge, those abilities, we'll still get rid of them. They're pretty much the only abilities in the game that do that, though.
Yeah.
And that's so that those classes can actually re-stealth in combat, because if we made it to where you couldn't cleanse the dots at all with anything, then those guys just get dotted and they can't get back into stealth. And
Exactly.
that's considered part of their
Mwah.
defenses.
Oh.
So for that reason,
I don't
they
want
can
them to go into stealth.
cleanse
Alright,
or
that gank the
purge.
bitches.
dots. Yeah, and they're the
That
only ones
gank
who
the
can really do
bitches.
that.
Yeah. So a lot of the questions that I'm seeing are class-specific stuff. We're not going to show the other classes today. Like I said, we will.
People are
we will
saying,
talk
what
more
about
those,
cleansing ops
in the
bosses?
future. I know a lot of it. It's funny enough. A lot of the questions are specific to things like, well, what about addressing insert specific class with specific issue they've had for a long time. as you can kind of see with Sorcs, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but like one of the things Sorcs have been asking for a long time is a defensive cooldown. They have one now. Some of the
I like the defensive stuff. That's pretty cool.
Now, and these guys did. I think they did a really great job of addressing a lot of the major concerns that exist.
I want to make a tanky.
So
make Nikki tanky.
I know you're asking because you're excited because you want to see them, but I think that you guys will be pretty excited when you see what's coming to each individual class when we get there. And Courtney had mentioned it earlier. We are targeting to start showing all of the classes across the board and talking about what's changing them in November. It's when we're targeting right now.
November.
Stress that we're targeting in case that changes. But right now our goal is that throughout November we're going to talk to you a lot about what's changing for each class. So Wazapeth asks, hybrids rip then? ? So you want to explain a little bit about the hybrid thing and how what hybrids mean in the discipline system?
So when you say hybrids, you're talking about the skills here, like what's in this, and
yes. Don't you know what hybrids are?
Then the answer is yes. They're dead in that respect, but they're not dead. Let's say I'm a tank, right? Let's say I'm a power tech. I can still put on my tank gear, and I can choose to be advanced prototype, which is a damaged discipline. So you're hybriding. Now you're not going to be fully effective if you make that decision, because you can also switch your stance to be the tank stance, but by doing that, you're going to miss out on all the stuff that requires your what do they use? They use high energy.
So Samus is going to be really weird too.
You're going to miss out on a lot of skills that require that. Skills in your skill tree will say while high energy gas cylinder is active, and when you put on your ion gas cylinder and you put on your tank gear, you're stronger. You're going to take longer to kill, but your damage is going to be pretty terrible.
So we know that already.
We can't effectively just stick a knife in hybrids and say they're done, because obviously you guys have options to wear whatever gear you want, and you have the option
hybrids are basically
to choose whichever stance you want to be in.
Except for whatever.
But you're going to be not very effective if you choose to use the stance that's not for your discipline, or you choose to wear the gear that's not for your discipline, like tank gear is not for a damaged discipline.
Right. So one of the questions that someone asked is, it's a two-part question. I'll cover half it. So they asked, what was the reasoning for doing the overhaul? What was the reasoning for going to disciplines?
Well,
and as the second part of that, they had concerns about that the whole thing's going to kind of be flipped on its head, and that it seems frustrating that people will need to relearn their entire classes. So I just want to cover in the second part. If you kind of look at, if you know Lightning and you're looking at the Lightning Sorc right now, you're still going to be doing everything you did before. I mean, granted, there will be changes to some changes to your rotation, being how we're adding new abilities and stuff like that. But for the most part, the class is going to play with the same abilities in the same way that you're already used to. It's not going to be that much of a change.
It's almost like it's causing even more min-maxing
that you're not going to know how to play your class.
Than before.
Not at all. It's not that severe. But do you want to explain the first part about why you guys moved to a discipline system?
Yeah, so the reason why we went to this system is because...
Is that what happened?
Every
How
time we... And we said this in the blog, but every time we add new levels, we have to basically rebalance entire skill trees. 3 entire skill trees.
Did the crafters log in, or are more people just assigning their guilds?
At the bottom of another one, and you can hybrid...
This is so ridiculous. They keep all their shit pretty cute.
There's all these synergies that you weren't supposed to be able to have.
This is fucking boring.
Now you can have, or if we move out...
I think the next words out of his mouth were literally going to be that if you move it up the tree, this is boring. I think that's literally what he's about to say. Absolutely.
Double bladed sabers in your face. What?
I don't know. I don't know really what to say about it. I mean, it looks good. It needs to happen. It needed to happen a long time ago. I've been bitching about it needing to happen for a long time. But hybrids are done. But if you liked WoW's system, you'll like this system. If you like the synergy system of Diablo 2, you won't like this system. And if you like just straight up boring old trees, you're not gonna like this system. But I think there's a lot more flexibility, but at the same time, it's only going to be flexibility that they're going to have to choose to allow in the game. Hybrids are gone, so Viper's going to have to completely actually choose a tree, which is going to be weird. Bob's probably going to make fun of me. And Samus is going to be... I guess I'll have 2 trees, and I'll just be able to... I'll be able to respec super fast. So if we need a healer, I'll be able to spec Viper in like 5 seconds. Because respecking is just going to be clicking, chasing the little path, and then choosing whatever on the right side. But we'll have to wait and see. I think they're going to need a lot of tweaking, though, because I can tell there's a couple things. I mean, even with just the Sorc alone, there's going to be a couple things that they're going to want to change. Because I know that there's a couple things that the Sorc really needs to be viable. And it looks like they're making them optional now, which means you're going to be forced to choose them. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a good change, but I guess with everything else, it depends on the execution. I wish they would have shown all of the classes. I suspect that they only had one done, although they're still farther than I thought. So that's actually pretty impressive. But this launches in about a month and a half. They can do it. I mean, if the engine's ready, then they can do it. It'll only take them, honestly, a couple weeks to at least get something passable, then I'll PTS it. I'll probably PTS it a little. I don't know. I hate the way PTS is on this game, but I don't know. Anyway, you guys will tell me what you think anyway, or you'll just tell me to stop yelling at your little bitch boy, Musco. But I don't know. Actually, I think it's a really good change. I just wish they had done it a long time ago, but it's happening now. It's probably because they got staffed back up again so they can handle it, but there's no plans for GSF. There's no plans for PvP. I didn't see any plans for Strongholds. I don't see any plans for new classes, and I don't see any plans for new races. And the Revan thing has been beaten into the ground already, I feel like. So, like a little nugget. It's like with everything they make, it seems like, where it's like a little nugget of good and like a giant sea of clusterfuck. So I don't know. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think, or don't tell me what you think, or say something unconstructive and shitty so I can ban you. I really don't care. But for the rest of you, thanks for watching, and yeah. See you guys in game, I guess.